My name is Sven-Erik Mathiasen. I am professor in occupational health sciences at the University of Gävle in Sweden, Center for Muskel-Skeletal Research. Women have more work-related problems with their muscle and joints than men do. Among those employed in Sweden, just over 10% of women say they have experienced disorders in the last year due to physical loads at work. For men, the figure is approximately 8%. Awkward working postures and computer work are the situations that women state as a cause of their problems to an especially high degree compared with men. For heavy lifting, the situation is quite even, although you may find this to be a pretty gloomy equality. So, why are women affected more than men by musculoskeletal problems at work? Sweden has one of Europe's most gender-segregated labor markets. There are professions where women work almost exclusively, for example, secretarial work, and there are professions where one almost cannot find women, such as truck drivers. Part of the explanation for the unequal health situation is probably there, although we don't actually really know. That women and men are found in different sectors in working life does not, however, explain the entire difference in disorders. There is much research which shows that even within the same profession, women have more problems in muscles and joints than men. In some professions, the situation is quite even, but there is hardly any profession where the men have more health issues than women. So, how does this happen? To find an answer to this question, we looked up all the scientific studies we could find that report what tasks men and women do at work, what physical loads they have, and how their bodies react to those loads. Research clearly showed that men and women, despite having the same professional title, most often do not have the same tasks at work. We have a clear example from the Skåne fishing industry in southern Sweden. Researchers have documented that women at the fisheries cleaned and packaged the fish, repetitive tasks on an assembly line. Men did the maintenance work and moved boxes of fish to the trucks that would distribute them to the rest of the country. They had, in other words, a more varied job. And this pattern occurs in many other professions: office workers, gardeners, cleaners. Women do more repetitive tasks and they work more directly with other people, patients or clients, and must therefore more often adapt themselves to conditions that others decide. Men work with machines, lift things now and then, work with tools. They have a more varied work, and variation is better for the body than monotony. So if we then pose the next logical question, if men and women actually have the same work tasks, what will then happen with the physical loads? Well, women are, on average, both shorter and have a lower muscle strength than men, even if there are plenty of men who are both shorter and weaker than many women. But in any case, on average, there is a difference. This means that if a workplace is designed to fit the average man and is not possible to adapt, then it will not fit the average woman. And it is exactly like this in many places still. Research shows that women in industry and in offices have somewhat less beneficial working postures than men, and also that women have to use a larger proportion of their muscle strength to do the job. This may sound worrying, but when it comes to industry and office work, researchers generally agree that the load level is not the greatest problem, it's rather the lack of variation. And lack of variation can be just as tangible whether one works at 5 or at 10% of the maximum muscle capacity. So what if women and men actually experience the same physical load, say at the same proportion of their maximum capacity. Physiology says that there are several differences between genders. Women have a slightly better endurance than men at low static loads, but this difference vanishes in dynamic work, and that type of work is more common in working life. Women are somewhat more sensitive than men to pain, but that builds upon experiments which are not specifically about work-related pain. Research does not indicate that the body's reactions to a certain physical load are very different between women and men. If I were to summarize now, I believe that the gender-segregated labor market is a clear culprit in why women have more work-related disorders in muscles and joints than men. A principal explanation is also that women have other work tasks within the same profession. An important, but not equally vital explanation is that the average woman is exposed to a somewhat heavier physical load than an average man who has exactly the same work tasks, uses the same tools, and sits at the same workstation. But, and this will probably be a surprise for many, women's different biology cannot to any particular degree explain why she should have more musculoskeletal problems than men, being exposed to the same physical loads. This means that it is not possible to use biology as an excuse for the state of things. In other words, to say, women cannot do this job. Instead, one can, as an employer, first endeavor to design work tasks and tools so they can be adapted to whoever does the job. Man, woman, short, tall, old, young. Classic ergonomics. By doing so, the organization would also live up to the Work Environment Act and at the same time have a profitable and including work environment which allows individuals to be different. And then the employer and the employees can, together, try to understand current standings in the organization when it comes to where the women are and what they do, and where the men are and what they do. Insight into the prevailing situation is a prerequisite for finding out whether it really has to be as it is, or whether the state of things is due to prejudices and obsolete traditions. If this is the case, the organization faces the challenge to start a dedicated work devoted to gender equality.